Welcome back, grade 10s. Now let us wrap up our lesson. Before we just continue, let us look at the note there. It says the mind map summarizes all the content for this lesson. It will help you to remember all the aspects of the work that you should study in detail. Be sure to study all the relevant content for each section. So this is an overview of what our lesson was about. So it is going to assist you in terms of studying, whereby you need to look at it and check where are you in terms of the knowledge that you have regarding this topic that we were doing, which is the private and public sectors. So firstly, we looked at the differences between the formal and informal sectors. We moved on to the meaning of public and private sector. We further moved on to the purpose of the public and private sector. And lastly, we unpacked the differences between the public and private sectors. Now, let's look at the new words and language that cropped up throughout our lesson. We saw the term private sector, which is defined the following. It consists of businesses owned, managed, and controlled by individuals and organizations seeking to generate profit. You must remember that we said private sector businesses are privately owned for the main aim of making a profit. The government does not own these businesses, but it's private individuals who own these businesses that are found under the private sector. Then there's a term that you also came across with, which is the public sector. It is the part of the economy where goods and services are provided by the government or local authorities carrying out the task instead. So basically, under the public sector, it's not a charity organization. It is owned by the government. But the main aim is not to make a profit, is to ensure that the general standard of living of the people are improved and people participate in the economy of the country. Yes, through the businesses that are being controlled by the government, the profit that is made there, it funds other state entities. So for the business to continue to run and also other state entities to continue to operate. Then there's common errors and common errors recap actually. We have misconceptions there. Learners confuse private sector and public sector. So these are the misconceptions of learners, whereby you confuse the private sector and the public sector. Public sector controlled and owned by the government. The private sector controlled and owned by private individuals with the aim of making a profit. Then the recommendations would be that you must be able to elaborate on the meaning of the public and private sector and also make a distinction between the two sectors. So it's going to assist you to be able to know the meaning between the two, which is the private and the public sector, and also be able to differentiate or distinguish between the two terms, which is the private and public sector. You must also be able to explain the main purpose of the public and private sector. Now, let's look at our challenge question. Discuss the purpose of the private sector. So that is the challenge that I'm giving you. And I hope today's lesson was fruitful and hope to see you soon. Do not forget that what you learned today does not nullify yesterday, but it does make tomorrow better. Goodbye, grade 10s.